She thought the rules didn't apply to her until the ground itself decided otherwise. John had always been the quiet one on the block, the kind of man who trimmed his lawn every Saturday at 7 a.m., kept his tools neatly lined up in the garage, and believed peace came from staying out of everyone's business. But that peace died the day Karen Whitmore became the new HOA chair. She came with a clipboard, a fake smile, and the arrogance of someone who believed she owned every square inch of grass in the neighborhood. It started small, little notes taped to John's door about unapproved flower arrangements and non-compliant mailbox color. He ignored them. Then came the warnings about his security, lights being too bright, his recycling, bin being too visible, and his lawn being too green for HOA standards. The last one almost made him laugh until he realized she wasn't joking. Karen had made it her mission to break him down. But John wasn't the type to bow to bullies, and as an engineer who designed motion control systems for a living, he had other ways to defend himself. One morning, while sipping his coffee, he saw Karen again, marching right through his front lawn, heels stabbing into the grass, her clipboard raised like a sword of righteousness. John called out, "You're trespassing again." She didn't even turn around. "I'm inspecting community property," she said flatly. "This grass violates HOA symmetry rules." John clenched his jaw. "This is private property," she smirked. "Then maybe you should move somewhere without standards." That was it. That was the last straw. That night, John sat in his garage, eyes glowing in the light of his laptop screen. He wasn't angry anymore. He was calculating. The next morning, he dug small trenches along the lawn's edge and installed his own homemade sensor system, a combination of sprinklers, moisture detectors, and pressure plates. It was perfectly legal, perfectly harmless, and perfectly timed. When Karen showed up again the next morning, clipboard in hand, she stepped right onto the trigger zone. Whoosh! A powerful jet of water shot up, soaking her head to toe. The scream she let out could have been heard across the state line. John stood at his window, sipping his coffee. "You might want to check those symmetry rules again," he muttered under his breath. But the incident only made her angrier. By afternoon, she'd posted a full HOA notice accusing him of hostile landscaping. That night, she stomped back into his yard with a flashlight, trying to photograph his setup, unaware that his cameras were recording her every move. John watched the footage later, shaking his head as Karen cursed at the sprinklers and kicked his garden lights. He saved the clips. Evidence, he thought. The next day, she showed up with 2 other HOA board members for an inspection. They stood at the edge of the lawn, talking loudly about non-compliance fines. John came out calmly and said, "If you step on my property again, I'll call the police." Karen laughed. "You think the cops care about lawn disputes?" "No," John said, "but they care about trespassing." Her smirk faltered for the first time. That night, John's neighbor Tom, a retired police officer, stopped by. "I've been watching her," Tom said. "She's been on 3 lawns today taking photos, starting fights." "You be careful." John nodded. "Oh, I will. I've got one more idea." 2 days later, John replaced the entire section of his front lawn with synthetic turf. Perfectly even, smooth, and, most importantly, coated with a layer of soft soil underneath, still damp from the rain. He left a small patch open near the middle where the ground was especially slippery. It wasn't a trap. It was poetic justice waiting to happen. The next morning, Karen stormed down the street again, this time angrier than ever. She'd filed a complaint to the county about illegal sprinkler systems, and it had been dismissed. She was fuming, muttering to herself about how people like him ruin neighborhoods. John was sitting on his porch, phone in hand, pretending to scroll. When she saw him, she shouted, "You think this is over? I'll get the HOA board to fine you into bankruptcy." John didn't even look up. "You might want to watch your step." She frowned, looked down, and took another step. That was the moment everything went slow. Her heel slipped, her foot shot forward, and with a loud splat, she landed face first in the soft mud patch that had formed overnight. Her scream tore through the morning air like a fire alarm. John froze the moment on his phone camera. Click. "Smile for the audit," he muttered. Karen pushed herself up, dripping with mud, her pink cardigan ruined, hair sticking to her face, her pride shattered in the most public way possible. Neighbors peeked through their curtains. Tom stepped outside, coffee in hand, laughing so hard he nearly dropped his mug. "Ma'am," he said between laughs, "you might want to find the ground for assault." Karen's face turned crimson. "This is harassment," she screamed. John shrugged. "You stepped in it, literally." She stormed off, shoes squelching, leaving muddy footprints down the sidewalk. That video? It hit the internet before lunchtime. By noon the next day, Karen's face was already all over the internet. The mud-splattered photo of her screaming on the lawn had gone viral, plastered across neighborhood pages with captions like HOA Queen Meets Gravity and Instant Karma Mud Edition. People laughed, shared and commented faster than wildfire. John hadn't even posted the video. Someone else's doorbell camera had caught every second in crystal clarity. The clip showed Karen storming across his yard, tripping on the same wet patch she'd been yelling about, and diving face first into the puddle. The sound of her scream, mixed with the neighbors' laughter, turned it into an instant classic. By evening, it had hit over 1 million views, and the local news titled it, "When HOA Power Trips Go Sideways." Karen tried to do damage control, ranting on the HOA page that she was set up by a manipulative homeowner. But no one believed her. Screenshots, memes, and slowed-down clips of her mud-splashing moment flooded every chat. She even tried threatening legal action, but the HOA board was done protecting her. They called for an emergency meeting. John didn't go. He didn't need to. Tom went in his place and texted him during it. "Dude, she's losing it in front of everyone." Karen stood in the middle of the conference room, still in denial, blaming everyone but herself. "He sabotaged my inspection," she shouted, waving a folder dripping with mud stains. The board president sighed. "Karen, this isn't about mud. This is about your behavior." The room went quiet. Then someone from the back muttered, "And her fall." Laughter rippled through the room. The board voted unanimously to remove her as HOA chair. It should have ended there, but karma had one more twist. The city investigated her after discovering she'd been sending out fake violation notices, using old HOA letterheads to fine residents for imaginary rules. Turns out she'd been pocketing fees for months. The fines came fast, the penalties harsher. Local news ran the story. HOA Karen exposed for fraud. Her reputation was beyond repair. When officers arrived to serve her notice, she tried to put on that same fake authority, barking orders even as they handed her papers. One officer simply said, "Ma'am, you might want to avoid muddy ground this time." Cameras rolled again. John watched the report on TV later that evening, smirking at how poetic it felt. "That's the same spot she said I couldn't water," he muttered. For the first time in years, the neighborhood felt light. No random fines, no 6 a.m. inspection photos. Kids played in sprinklers without fear of HOA tickets. Neighbors who once stayed silent came to thank John. One woman said, "You saved this street." Another whispered, "I wish I had filmed it in slow motion." The new HOA board invited John to help rewrite the rules. He agreed on one condition: every homeowner deserved a voice. His draft ended with one new line: "Respect your neighbors, their lawns, and the ground you walk on. Karma is slippery." Months later, Karen moved out, sold her house quietly, and left the community for good. Her moving truck rolled down the same street she used to patrol like a queen. Her windows rolled up to block the stairs. John stood on his porch, coffee mug in hand, watching her go. When the truck disappeared around the corner, he whispered, "Took long enough." That night, the porch lights glowed warm against the calm street. The same yard where chaos had once reigned, now smooth, green, and peaceful. Tom stopped by with a beer and said, "To freedom from madness." John raised his bottle, "And to muddy justice." They laughed as the sound of sprinklers filled the quiet evening. Somewhere out there, Karen probably saw the viral video again, maybe on TV, maybe online, her own voice echoing through the internet she couldn't control. And maybe, just maybe, she finally realized that no matter how loud you scream, karma doesn't take orders.